Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Student of the Game. I am Kyle Nash, the Student of the Game, and listen, if you're here, chances are you like talking sport, and we're glad you're here to do it with us again tonight. Of course, we got another NFL playoff preview. We kind of been doing this. It's been going pretty well. Had some fine people cross through this building. I would say gentlemen, but we've had ladies as well talking some quality football. Granted, how quality it is depends on who you ask, frankly, because if you're a Vikings fan, maybe not so much. We'll throw that out there. But listen, nonetheless, we had fun doing it. And, well, let's go ahead and take it this way here. Listen, at some point, you knew we had to get him in and his Homer self to talk about his Kansas City Chiefs doing his thing. Of course, you will hear his voice early and often on the Captain Company Morning Show, talking all things sport in his own right. He was doing a lot of things in the area up and around Duval County. The man we say is from the shores of the St. John's. BP himself. If you're not a believer, you could call him Brian Paul, but I don't know that he'll answer to it. What's going on, my man?
First, straight out the gate with the Homer talk, flag on the play.
Hey, listen, first of all, that's half the reason you're here. So, I mean.
I know.
You know,
but it wouldn't have been fun without the props. You know, I mean, it's
true. No, hey, listen, I too have used the flag on the play here on the Student of the Game at times myself. I have doubled my Pittsburgh Steeler terrible towel for a penalty flag. And listen, when you ask your wife to throw something at your face, it's kind of scary how quickly she said yes to this concept. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Yeah, just saying. Cheap buy on Amazon, by the way. I use them frequently. So, yeah, it's that time again, man. We are back in the divisional round. We're back talking Chiefs, and this is going to be a good one, I think. I honestly think that Texans-Chiefs might be – this might be the game, Kyle. This might be the one where we find out if the Chiefs are really the luckiest team in the NFL or they really are that good. I think C.J. Stroud put on a show last week in the wild card round, and I certainly hope Spags is doing his homework, because if he's not, that Chiefs defense is going to look very, very gross this coming weekend at 4:30 on ESPN or ABC, no matter where you get it. This is I'm genuinely concerned right now after the way the Chiefs have played this entire season. Mm-hmm. This is a 15-2 team who, by all rights, shouldn't be 15-2. Really, they shouldn't be 15-2. They should be 10-7.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but they certainly, 11 or 12 is kind of the right mark from where I sit. Like, the only one, we'll leave that at that for sure.
Yeah, it's. I mean, realistically, we shouldn't be talking about number one seed and, bye and all that stuff. We should be talking they should have played Saturday. Likely hosting, but they should have played Saturday or last week. That's the thing. But, honestly speaking, here we are again. The Chiefs will have the Super Bowl run through them at some point, and it's, we're back to business. But this, again, this is the part where Kansas City always shines. It's at home. The forecast in Kansas City is a balmy 25 degrees. I don't think we're going to see the walrus come out again, which was hilarious. Andy Reid with the frozen mustache on the and that was not water, let me tell you. If you've been cold and fat like I have, that's how it works. But I think we're going to see, cue Eminem here. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? We've been waiting for you all season. Is this the time where Travis Kelce goes uncorked and Patrick LaVon Mahomes II shows up doing what he does? Will this be the defense that we've been waiting for all season, and not this porous monstrosity that has given up so many points and forced field goal kickers to win games from the 50-yard line? Is this going to be the one? Or, have the Texans been taking notes, and, will CJ Stroud put on his superhero outfit and start running through defenses. That's genuinely a concern for me this coming week.
I find it fascinating, even as a Chiefs fan, despite the fact that you reside in the shores of the St. or on the shores of the St. John's there. I mean, other than the loss to the Broncos, like, they haven't let a team score more than 30 overall this defense. And, listen, your disrespect for the Chiefs MVP is overwhelming. I don't know what to make of it. Why do you give so little respect to Chris Jones this football season?
Throw another flag while we're here. I just it's a momentum thing. We're in the playoffs. And the playoffs, I mean, look at the Chargers. they look at the Vikings. I'm citing current examples as to why this makes me nervous, because Justin Herbert has typically been very good in postseason play. And, when the stars are the brightest, the Chargers usually show up better than they did. And
I don't know that I'd call Herbert good in postseason play, especially having sat in person at the game in question where the LA Chargers chargered in right by your shores, I might dare say, as well, in that particular playoff game. Like, his stat line isn't particularly great in playoff games as yet. And I'm not even including the 0-2 part. So,
yeah, well, there's something else, that he brings in a playoff game. Sure, they've not been able to get over the hump, but it's a better performance than what we had seen. Mm-hmm. And I think I texted you that, said that we got Harbaugh. The other Harbaugh brother probably shouldn't really have gone to the NFL anyway. What was he thinking? But the better Harbaugh brother is coaching in Baltimore right now, and they're on the crux of another AFC Championship game anyway. So
that's an awful lot you're saying, considering the way that Michael Crabtree got held in that end zone in that Harbaugh Bowl Super Bowl. But we don't need to bring up old stuff.
No, we don't need to. We don't need to. Sorry, I'm leaving the replay flag off for this one. So.
Oh, look at this! He's got the red flag too, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, telling you, got it all, man. But it made me nervous watching LA play in that game. And then Minnesota, I mean, talk about a drought. Sam Darnold, just unimpressive in that playoff game. Horrible, in fact, if you could go so far as to throw adjectives at it. So, I think watching the Texans right now, they're hot. Houston did lose to Kansas City this season. Yes, 27-19. We all watched it. It was a fairly convincing win, and it was in Arrowhead. So, yes, but there's something about this one, man. There really is. I mean, I know the cards are on the table. I know who's out there. MVP Mahomes will do his thing. Travis Kelce will wander into the center of the field somewhere and be wide ass open to convert a fourth down play. And Isaiah Pacheco will run like a banshee. And, all of those things are in play, but just something stinks about this. It says the Texans are going to show up. And if Kansas City doesn't bring their A game this week, the line says it's 8-point favorite for the Chiefs. I really don't think, if the Chiefs don't bring their A game this weekend, that the Texans are going to march to the AFC Championship game, and it's going to be the stunner of the season. And we all know how difficult it is to three-peat as a Super Bowl champion, and we've watched the momentum shift all season. The Chiefs have just played these games. I don't want to say they played it cavalier, but let's go to game one, Baltimore, Kansas City. That should have been a Baltimore win. The way that the Chiefs played in week one, Baltimore should have won that game. Go to week two. Cincinnati should have won that game in week two. I can't believe the Chiefs won it. I've watched this team with dismay all season long, and with the exception of week 18, which didn't matter, this
if
is
anything,
a Chiefs
it
team.
helped them, right? Because it got Patrick Mahomes, the second most successful enemy, out of the way.
Yes.
Right?
Well, and then on top of that, he's had not 1 but 2 weeks of rest. So, that plays into the Chiefs' favor, of course, because, you rested all your starters in week 18. So there was that was a givey game anyway.
It
So
wouldn't
there's
work
no,
for all teams. I'm going to put in this here too, because I think you're right, but I think it's particular to the Chiefs, especially when you have as many guys of a particular age that are on that team. Travis Michael Kelsey is the one that drops off the map, obviously. Chris Jones, not exactly a spring chicken in his own right, too, giving him a chance to rest, especially against a team in the Texans whose weakness is their offensive line, by the way. I think that's huge there as well. But go ahead, continue.
well, and then something else that might play into the Chiefs' favor, too, and this was posted a couple of hours ago, that Joe Mixon is now questionable to play.
Mm-hmm.
He was limited in practice. He's still got ankle issues. So that might play into the Chiefs' favor because now they know that the primary running threat at this point is likely going to be Stroud, not Mixon. And Stroud could, line up and run quarterback power. He could run anything. He can run anything, improv at this point. And they know they can key on it. But Mixon kind of balances that out a little bit and gives them another weapon in the backfield. And if he's questionable at this point, it is a next man up mentality. But, that's a big storyline.
Much better offense with Mixon there. There's no question.
Yeah, also saw today that Jalen Watson is coming back off of IR. He's been activated, so he'll play in the divisional game. It wasn't confirmed that he'd be activated during week 7. That's when he broke his ankle. So, he's coming back off of ankle issues. And, it's been a split then between Nicey Johnson and Josh Williams. So, it'd be good to have him back now, Watson off IR, just in the rotation. But that's something else that I'm concerned about is the Chiefs secondary. And I've said this on this program several times about Spagnuolo's defense and how that secondary always raises questions every year. And it's like, what? Yeah, sure. They haven't given up more than 30 points, but realistically with the talent they've had on defense, they shouldn't give up more than 21. And there's always this chunk play that they give up at the wrong time that puts a team right back in. And in postseason play, you can't give up chunk plays like that. You just can't do it. You have to play lockdown on the corners. And, honestly, I don't think Houston is that much of a deep threat to Kansas City. But then again,
not as much as they were with all their injuries, right? Yeah.
No. But then again, like I said, Spags defense has always had this bad habit of giving up a big play at the wrong time in the fourth quarter and makes the game interesting, and I'm just really glad though that the Chiefs kind of have the monkey off their back this season. They played at Buffalo and won, so they've smacked Josh upside the head. They know what that works out like. I'm telling you, man, I genuinely.
Wait, they lost to the Bills, partner, 30-21.
I'm sorry, my bad, but still, they've seen it once on paper. They were at Buffalo. If they face them again, it's likely going to be in Arrowhead. I've misspoken. Listen, it's been a long freaking week, man. You want to talk about throwing flags, dude? And I've been in basketball land anyway, so I've been bouncing like a ball anyway. But no, they kind of have that on film, so they know what a mobile quarterback would like. Of course, they played your friend and mine, Joe Burrow, at some point this season, so they're not unfamiliar with playing the mobile quarterback that does the surprise things. So, it's not like it's strange, but, there's something about this postseason already. Well, I mean, and I think there's something in the air of football altogether, man, not to veer too far off topic, but, who would have thought that Ohio State and Notre Dame would be playing for a national championship this year? I'm telling you, football's been really weird this year.
When the college football playoff has opted to just completely reject the very notion that it's even meant to exist for in the first place and allowing teams to hide in weak-ass schedules. Yeah, no, that's how you ended up with Ohio State and Notre Dame. You got one team whose only real challenge was a bunch of pretenders in an Oregon team that got exposed. Quack, quack this with your flying V. And then the other team is somebody who has 4 G5 schools on their schedule and lost to one of them. So, yeah, I can see exactly how it happened. Tough scheduling doesn't matter anymore. Sweet dreams, son. You just made a country weaker today, Caffey. But I digress. Continue.
That's what I said. Football's been weird this year.
Listen, to your point, though, how many times have you like, oh, well, this is totally going to happen? Like, it's like been this and last season. I couldn't imagine people that actually bet this ish. I would have a heart attack.
No, see, and that's the thing. Like, let me put it to you this way. So this year's Uncle Paulie Memorial Cup, if you pay attention to Captain and Company in the morning, it's our annual tradition. We got Slick Vic back to do playoff picks, so we have our fourth person again. We tried to get somebody else from Kansas City to come up and do it, but he doesn't answer emails. You heard it. I said it out loud.
Yes, well,
so,
that pretty much exterminated his chances. Yes.
Yes. Let's play that again, Sam. Play that again. But we already started out this year, and I sat down and I made my picks. I looked at the stat lines. I looked at the Vegas lines, and I said, "There's no way that the Chargers don't come out of this unscathed. I'm pretty sure they're going to win this game."
So many people, by the way, right?
Yes. In fact. All of the three of us that are the sports expertise-laden individuals, I won't say experts, but I'll say expertise-laden, because we are smarter than the average bear when it comes to certain things compared to the guy who runs the program. He just talks sports.
Fair point, boo-boo.
He picked the Texans, and of course, I'm like, bro, you do this every season. You pick the home teams in the divisional round or the wild card round every single year. And by God, for whatever reason, he was right. And I'm looking at this line of Chargers bolts on the graphic I made, and I said to myself, wow, we're the guys that do all the sports reporting and the commentary and stuff like that. And don't we have egg on our face all of a sudden? Because the Chargers collapsed like paper bags.
See, I can't put it like that because we got Herberted and nobody expected 4 interceptions from that dude. Let's keep it reasonable.
No, nobody expected that many interceptions. That was he didn't have that many interceptions in the season, did he? I mean, it was an unbelievable stat line that I'm like, this is horrible. So, that leads me to this weekend's slate of games. Like, if we're focused on the Chiefs tonight, but my gut for the purposes of the cup, I'm just going to say this now, put this in the universe. For the purposes of the cup, I may pick Houston.
Well,
just for the purposes of the cup.
If you do, first of all, I will reveal my bias in me being unable to pick Houston, and it has nothing to do with my fanhood. Hell, I kind of like CJ Stroud. I kind of like he's there. I kind of like he's making the vision better than it is. Because good gravy, the AFC South, in my opinion, doesn't deserve to have a divisional representative this year with some of the quality teams that are out there, guys. Okay? Let me be clear about that. How many divisions would this Houston Texan team lose? And I don't mean just be second, okay? They should have lost to the Jags at least one of the 2 times and did their damnedest to blow it both times. And now you're expecting me to believe they'll topple Patrick LeVon Mahomes II and Chris Jones. I can't do it. Now, your fanhood, I think, impacts your, mental health here. And like, oh, my God, what if this actually happens at the Paulie Cup and all that? I'm not mad at you for it. I just can't do it.
No, listen, no. The fan in me says, oh, God, come on, man. Even if we win this game by a field goal, Kansas City's going back to its umpteenth AFC championship game. That part of me would be content. Like, hey, I'm good. I'm good with the Kansas City Chiefs winning this game by the skin of a gnat's butt hair. I don't care at this point. A dub's a dub, right? But I'm talking the cup. Yeah. And I'm like, there's no possible way that.
Oh, no. There's no possible way. And it was just at a crucial moment. The boss walked in at just the right time.
So I get this text message that has his picks on it, right? Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, all right, I know what he's going to do. Of course he's going to pick Kansas City, because, he picked Houston. So now I'm off the hook. I can pick Kansas City safely and keep my sanity and my fanhood intact and let him lose. I was wrestling with this for a while, and I'm thinking, damn, I don't know what I'm going to do here because, the cup is not something that, it's the most whined about, argued, fussed over. It makes the prayer breakfast hilarious every February.
Sure. Especially the part where I'm the only 2-time winner.
Yeah, so and he's on his way to being a 2-time winner. So we gotta do something. But
I'm still the inaugural winner. I'm good. We're fine.
the dude picked Houston, though. I'm like, oh man, now's my shot, right? This is gonna make it entertaining. So I checked that off the list, and I'm like, all right, I solves one problem. The Saturday 4:30 game is cool. I'm all right. But then I started going on looking ahead to this Ravens Bills game, and I'm like, ooh, got another one here. It's on the road in Orchard Park. We know Lamar Jackson is, he's Lamar Jackson. And honestly, this is the best Ravens team I have seen in a long time. This is a complete package. I mean, defensively, offensively, the special teams. I mean, everything about this team is built for a Super Bowl championship. They just got one problem, and it's in Missouri. So that's always been the hurdle. Coincidentally, it's also been the same hurdle for the Bills and the Bengals in the past couple of seasons. Baltimore's a 1-point favorite in this game, and that made me.
With Zay Flowers hurt, by the way, that they have that line.
Yeah. So I'm like, I mean, they've been here before. So is Baltimore. Honestly, out of the slate of playoff games, I think this is the best game out of all of them. This is the best matchup, hands down. And I was torn. I'm like, my heart of hearts, my expertise says Baltimore all the way. But then I started thinking about the damn cup again, and I was like,
and then here comes Natalie and Bruglia. Nothing's fine. You're torn. I get it.
He went 6-0. I have a chance because I have a sinking feeling he's going to pick Baltimore on this one because he has this thing about, riding the ship and going with logic at this point, like the rest of us do.
Yeah.
He's picking Buffalo. So I'm like,
almost did myself. It's impossible to figure it out.
Yeah. So and I literally, that is probably the last pick I will make at this point. I'm kind of settled on Houston right now and the Chiefs. I'm pretty sure about that one. Baltimore, Buffalo, though, that's the tough one. That's the one that it's like that might be just before I send it in for Friday morning. That my pick will be resolved. I can't make a decision on it, and I wouldn't be surprised if Vic goes through a similar thought process as well for that one because it's tough. And of course he's picking Washington over Detroit. I don't know why would you at this point. I mean, Washington's red hot, but Detroit at home, playoff game, hungry, Super Bowl time. I mean, if you want to fast forward to my pick for the Super Bowl, it's Kansas City, Detroit.
I had the Ravens in Detroit back in the first week of December, and it was on the strength of the Ravens winning that first game and getting home field advantage in the tiebreak. Okay, the records didn't work out that way, even though you acknowledge that they probably could have and should have, right? That being said, the path to Ravens Lions is still very much on the table. It would just have to be the Ravens winning at Arrowhead should they get past this weekend. Not a simple task, certainly.
No, it's not. Well, first you got to run through Buffalo, which is not going to be great. It's going to be a delightfully warm 20 degrees in Orchard Park on Sunday night. So it's they're not strangers to cold weather. But Lamar Jackson does not seem to enjoy playing in cold temperatures, if you've noticed. If you pay real close attention to when he runs for the sidelines, give me that coat. He doesn't seem to fare well in chilly temperatures. So I imagine there's a mental game that the Bills will play. Plus, the Bills haven't lost at home this season. I mean, everything's playing into their favor right now that Buffalo may squeak this one out and Baltimore will fall flat. But no, the best game in the AFC is on Sunday night at 6:30. I am looking forward to that. But nonetheless, kind of rolling around back to the Chiefs. I mean, it's another banner year for Patrick Mahomes. Is it MVP worthy? I don't think so. Not this year. Super Bowl MVP would probably be the best he could do, but I don't think that would be a bad thing for him. I don't think it's not out of the ordinary for Pat.
That would ease your pain somewhat. Yeah,
I think that would console him a little bit. I think there's been some better performances across the league that are probably going to be elevated in terms of what they've done. I mean, he's been there, done that. The guy's got rings. I don't think it's really naming him a league MVP this year is just like, come on, what else are you going to throw at the guy? He's already done it all. And almost 4,000 yards passing. He's only thrown 11 interceptions. So he really hasn't turned the ball over himself in the passing game a whole lot. So, it's been clean.
He had a stretch early where it was a problem, but he cleaned it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Down the road, we've gotten a lot better. But the wild card this year for them has been that Patrick Mahomes connection. It's just not really been where it has been in the past. Normally they're on the same page, and he is always sneaking in, making these wild plays. And you see them kind of doing the whole draw the play in the sand bit in the huddle, and there's always something late in the game. But Noah Gray has been the standout this year at tight end. And Noah Gray's the future.
I'm kind of convinced that Travis Michael Kelce's been battling something health-wise. I think that's been a factor. It started last year. He got a little nicked up going into the Jags game. I think that was like week 2, and was of questionable health, but obviously got healthy in time for the playoffs. This is why I cited what I did earlier. Getting the bye week, I think, was biggest to assure Travis Michael Kelce is at his maximum performance level.
Yeah. Could you say he's not having the best era this season? I went there.
This guy.
I went there.
You're good. Let me throw this question at you.
Fire away.
If this happens, the Chiefs win. If X happens, what is X? The Chiefs win.
If the defense turns the ball over and scores, Kansas City wins. No question. If the defense can put points on the board themselves, Houston won't recover. It's obvious at this point that the Chiefs' offense is their best defense. But the Chiefs' defense has not been known for the scoop and score or the pick six. We don't really see many highlights of them doing a whole lot of that. I think if they turn, it's kind of a double caveat. And I'm glad you mentioned the X. So X sub 1 is if the Chiefs turn the ball over on defense, if they have the takeaway game in their favor, they win the ball game. The second part of that is if they manage to do that and score, then call it a definite.
I don't feel like the Texans are going to come from behind either on you. I agree.
No. I think you're going to get into a deficit with Kansas City, and it's not going to be something you'll recover from. C.J. Stroud's a good quarterback, but he's still young. He's still not been in the league long enough. Now, and playoffs this deep for the Texans right now, that's not something that they've said regularly in Houston.
Well,
so there's a lot of
their O-line is easily their most questionable part. Their top running backs hurt. They're missing pieces. They basically have only Nico Collins receiving. So, this isn't about – C.J. Stroud is important because he's the quarterback, but I don't think if they miss the mark, I don't necessarily think it'll be C.J. Stroud's fault, right?
No, I don't think so either. I think, it's going to be a question of how well they protect the offensive line, how many opportunities they give Stroud to either be in the pocket and throw or allow him to improvise should that protection breakdown. Jones is an animal, and we've talked about it before, and we know he's going to raise holy hell on that front line, and they're going to have to key in on that. But, it's not just about, him either. You could have Nick Bolton have a breakout game all of a sudden, or Drew Tranquill could have, there's names that you could go on and on over that front seven.
That'll be set up starting with that focal point in the middle of the trenches, and everything else will follow that. Yeah, I get you there 100%.
Yeah, and just, again, pulling out the stats on the season right now, I didn't circle Tershawn Wharton having 6.5 sacks this season. So, who saw that? Now, Bolton's got 3 on the year. Now, he leads the team in tackles for loss, so he's in the backfield constantly. He's always raising hell. And, but I didn't see that Wharton would be in the backfield with 6.5. That stunned me. I figured, that's a Bolton Tranquill stat at this point. No, it wasn't. So that's another name that you could swear that would come out and make a difference on the defense, and that offensive line is as porous as it is. That's a D tackle making those sacks. That's not good. Now Stroud will probably run around that stuff, and for all we know, he could run into the full Greek freak and George Karlaftis, and that's the end of the story. So there's going to be some support there either way. But, Karlaftis is another one, 8 sacks. Like, that's kind of standard for him. You would expect Karlaftis to do those things. But Wharton also at the D tackle slot. That's a lot to handle up front.
Is because the interior is getting home first.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So if the Texans O-line can't buckle down and hold just those two back, forget Jones at this point. Just hold down Karlaftis and Wharton at the end and tackle slot. You're going to have a long, long game.
And a big factor, too, we mentioned all these names in the Houston Texans offensive line. The penalty yardage and killed drives via holding calls and things like that are going to creep their head in. And listen, I'm not here. There are some Texans fans that are real pain in the butt, right? These cats that want to give me graphs comparing Daniel Jones to Trevor Lawrence going into the season, and then are suddenly suspiciously quiet when C.J. Stroud's numbers aren't quite that much different than Trevor Lawrence's. But that's a separate conversation. What I will say is, boy, howdy, I think discipline's the biggest thing for the Texans, man. And I think that's something we haven't mentioned it. I would feel remiss if we didn't. We're 30 minutes in here, so let me ask you the premier question, 2 of them. I don't know how much you participate in the degeneration, which is to say betting on the games. But for you, what is the better bet, to take the Texans to cover, to take the under? What do you got?
Yeah, I don't really.
A lot of points. I'm with you.
I don't really partake, honestly. I like to watch other people do it because it's fun to watch their blood pressure go up and down while I just enjoy the game. Nice. So I don't buy that hype yet. Plus, I don't have enough money to bet anyway, dude. I work in sports media. Do you think we're loaded? Come on, man. But I don't know. And this is why I'm not a betting man. But I maybe would expect them to cover. Yeah. Like it's like the Chiefs are an 8-pointer, so I think they could get within 8.
8 feels like a lot. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, 8 feels like 8 feels like a trick play. That's what that sounds. That's what that signals to me. They figure that the Big Red is going to bust out the cheeseburger deluxe and throw something at him like in the first touchdown of the game, and they put this odd formation that you would only see in Madden 25. And score a 2-point conversion. That's the only thing I can see out of it. But yeah, I would honestly expect the Texans to cover. They're going to make it a game, but once they get deep and behind, and like you were saying earlier, this is going to be their worst nightmare. I mean, the fewer they see, and for the Chiefs too. I mean, they have done some. Earlier in the season, it wasn't so much of a problem, but later as we got on, I started seeing these come out at the wrong times. The team that commits the fewest penalties in this game, because there's going to be a ton of them, and they're going to be penalties of discipline. There's going to be so many false starts, and God, please don't line up on offsides again in the middle of a great play. You know who I'm talking about. That just ruined it. But honestly speaking, the fewer the penalties, you can't – I've watched the social media chatter all year long. Well, you can't play Kansas City and the refs.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Bullshit. I'll say it. Man, I just, make that excuse all you want. Point to the scoreboard and find out how you do. That is the number that matters at this point. But I will say that if you end up in a penalty-laden game and you're behind the sticks, of either team at this point, you're not at the point in the season where committing those errors at this point is going to help you. You need to stay ahead. You need to be in manageable down situations. The Texans have got to be able to have good gains on first down. They've got to make it second and third and decent. The longer they keep Pat Mahomes on the sidelines, the better it's going to be for them. That's something that many people fail to do. Many teams fail to do against Kansas City is churn out those drives and push Mahomes off to the side. Yeah, he's always got the heroics and stuff like that, and they have the offense to score quickly. But the fewer opportunities you give him to score will make it better for you in the long run, especially in that first half. You've got to set the tone if you're Houston and put that Arrowhead crowd to sleep in that first half. You've got to come out and establish yourself as a dominant team on the line of scrimmage. Your offensive line is going to have a challenge, but this is not the time to be worried about past tense. You need to look at today's game and go, listen, we've got to get up to the line. We got to bust some noses here and crack some skulls and let these guys know that we're not going to be pushed around. Yeah, this is your house, and we're coming in for a spell, and you don't have anything to say about it. So you got to establish. On the flip side of that, the Kansas City Chiefs, they've found a couple of things in the run game. Of course, Pacheco has always been the exciting part of that. And having Kareem Hunt this season, although a lot of people had mixed feelings about Hunt coming back, that's actually been a boon to them. I mean, he's come in and he's carried the ball 200 times, 728, 7 touches. So he's in there. He's made a difference, and it's kind of the Kareem Hunt that we were expecting to get in the trade. So if you can do that between him and Pacheco and run a little dosage of those, maybe get Xavier Worthy in sort of that extended run game where you run that bubble screen. Listen, I hate it. I hate the bubble screen. I hate that wide receiver play. It's too easy to diagnose. There's too many fast corners in the NFL that are going to see that and go, man, we've had film on that since 2021. So, I think that they need to find other ways to get Worthy involved in the run game. The jet is probably a better bet for him. They've lined him up at tailback a couple of times too, so they mixed it up. But I think if the Chiefs can establish their run game and use that to churn up some yards and again sustain some drives, it'll be better for them as well. Plus, that Arrowhead crowd loves something exciting, so maybe a little razzle dazzle. Throw something that you haven't seen yet, a little wrench, and most importantly, I think for me, and I think for the psyche of everybody else in the world, is Travis Kelce has got to have those types of games. He's caught for 823. He's been targeted the most on the team. Noah Gray's been reliable in relief, but this is Kelce's time to shine. This is where he shines the brightest, honestly, is when the S is on the line, as it were. So. Correct. And the good news is that this game is on ESPN, and we won't have to spend 3 hours listening to Jim Nantz and Tony Romo talk about where Taylor Swift is. I'm excited about that part.
The problem with haters is they're going to hate. If you're going to throw your flowers to Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, I can't help you. Anyway.
Listen, I don't like listening to those two either. So, but I'd rather listen.
Mute. We got it.
Yeah. No need for this. But right. Yeah.
Well, let's land the plane this way, man. We have been waxing quite the poetics. Please give me that final prediction. Let's come down off the fence.
28-25.
Ooh.
52-yard field goal into the end zone. That wins it. I think it's going to be one of those things where, it's going to start out ugly. There's going to be a gap. And because, it is the playoffs, somebody's going to claw back. Kansas City's had that kind of year, where you think they slammed the door on somebody and the foot is on the back of the neck. And, well, I don't know why you're letting them do it. Why is my blood pressure going up? And why am I reaching for another glass of whiskey? I can't handle this no more. Please end it. So, but in the spirit of the Chiefs and the insane way that they played this with everybody's cardiovascular health, I'm going to say 25-28, and it's a late game field goal. But it'll start out good. Chiefs will be in control. Texans will do what they do. CJ Stroud will ball out, but it won't be enough. They won't last. Chiefs Ravens in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, no, I completely, that makes a lot of sense. It's certainly what I have predicted. Granted, what you've done is not only pick the Texans to cover, you have the over for those that are paying attention there too. Yeah, I'm there roundabouts. I think you have a little bit too high of a score. That's the only thing I would really clip you on. The 3-point difference makes sense. I might do something 4-point. Give me a 24-20. I think each side gets a field goal. I think Patrick Mahomes II puts up more touchdowns than CJ Stroud, and that'll be what decides it. I know it's old-fashioned, but hey, DeAndre Hopkins is a thing, man.
True story.
That being said, tell the world we be found, BP.
Well, my Instagram is on that screen for you. You can find me there, my humble abode, but I am predominantly, I can't even speak. I'm predominantly with Sunshine State Broadcasting this time of year. We're in the midst of basketball season. We have a great group of basketball games coming up in January. You can find us at ssbjacks.com and on the socials, Facebook and X at ssbjacks, and on the gram at ssb.jacks. And I'm also over there at A7BN Sports Monday through Friday morning around about 10:55 every day on Captain and Company in the morning. I've got a sports wrap for you. Got a great one on Friday. We are in the midst of the Uncle Paulie Memorial Cup. It's always hilarious, and it's my pleasure to be down there. And my friend, we are due for a prayer breakfast in 2025. We got to start this year right, my pal. Like you, me, and Vic, we can leave the captain to gloat somewhere else. Just the regulars will come out and do that.
Well, he ain't won a damn thing yet. That's a fact
No,
of the case.
no, that's for sure.
Find stuff. By the way, for the podcast listeners out there, you can find his Instagram at bp.onair. That is something I always look forward to when I have stories and stuff out there on the football problem. You hit me up on some Magic stuff too. I'll give you that credit. So
absolutely, and UFL stuff around the corner too. Spring for more foosball, man. Color me happy.
Hey, listen, I mean, yeah, your Canadian brethren are done. It's time for the UFL to do its thing. You're not wrong, sir. So I appreciate you jumping in and doing what you do here as well. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. That's right, one of the cool kids there, BP, at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my writings with the Fans First Sports Network covering the Orlando Magic and the Jacksonville Jaguars. You'll also find my podcasting work with the Duval Dive, also covering the Jacksonville Jaguars with my good friend Travis D. Holmes of BigCatCountry.com, as well as the Student of the Game podcast, which, hey, you're listening to a portion of here by way of the Huddle Up Network, and then also my work with the Black and Gold Banneret covering UCF football and basketball. This weekend, I will be at Edition Financial Arena covering women's basketball, the first of the doubleheader as they do battle with the Oklahoma Cowgirls. And then also you have the Houston Cougars coming to town. Kelvin Sampson in the building taking on the UCF Knights, who have just freshly, by the way, beaten Arizona State. It's a beautiful thing when you see a team like this. It's a football school win games in the Big 12 in basketball, BP. It's an amazing thing. So make sure you check that out, blackandgoldbanner.com and the Night Shift podcast. So for my friend, BP, Kyle Nash, the student of the game, and until next time, everyone, class dismissed.